Hello guys, it's me, Reysious, and welcome to my first devlog on this channel, I guess. So first of all, don't worry, I'll keep making Battlefront content, at least for now, but I'll probably also start making more videos like this in the future. So for those of you who don't know what's going on, let me just give you a little introduction. So when I was 16, I made the game Drone Wars, which was literally just a first-person shooter, where you obviously play as a drone and shoot other drones. Well, the game looked like shit, the whole project was a complete mess, I had no clue what I was doing, and the movement was literally yoinked from a Brachy's YouTube tutorial. But yet the 16-year-old me thought it would be a really good idea to release the shit on Steam. And God knows why, for a very short time period the game actually had some players, and also the reviews were actually pretty good, although you probably can't take most of the reviews seriously. Anyways, regardless of how shitty the game was, in the end I learned a lot from making the game, also about how to work with all the Steam tools, and I never actually completely gave up the game itself. I always wanted to keep updating the game, but at some point I realized it would be easier to just start completely from scratch, instead of trying to improve that messy project. And at the time where I wanted to start from scratch, I found Tom Wieland's networking tutorials, and with everything I learned from Tom Wieland's networking videos, I could finally have my own custom networking solution for Unity. So I started in a completely new project and called it Drone Wars 2.0, and I have now worked on it for I think actually over a year now, and I always made some devlogs once in a while on my other channel. However, that channel only has like 66 subscribers, the videos rarely get over 100 views, which is probably because most of them were boring as fuck, at least the older ones. But it's also really hard to keep your channel alive if you only upload a video like once every 3 months, unless you really know how to fuck with the algorithm, and I'm not one of those sadly. So I thought, since I don't really have time to keep both channels alive at the same time, I'll just upload everything on the main channel. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work out well, since the last video that wasn't Battlefront related didn't really do good compared to my other videos. But we'll see. Now I think this was enough introduction, let's get into the devlog. So one of the first things I did since the last devlog was making a new muzzle flash effect with the new Unity VFX system. And of course I totally didn't look up on YouTube how to make a muzzle flash in Unity VFX graph. However, the new muzzle flash turned out really nice in my opinion. So with the muzzle flash done, I started working on tracer effects. So I made a tracer effect in VFX Graph and applied it to every gun end on the drone. But even though the tracer effects ended up looking pretty nice, I wasn't really happy with them. Since the tracer effects were applied to the drone, they would move and rotate with the drone. This made it look very unrealistic. Just imagine firing a bullet, then quickly turning around, and the bullet would then completely change its direction just to follow your rotation. So I then got the idea to use an actual game object, attach a trail renderer to it, and let it move from the gun endpoint to the actual shoot impact point. However, doing this led to some pretty strange looking results. I think one of the issues were that I'm using object pooling, which basically means I'm reusing the tracer effect object instead of instantiating and destroying the object for each tracer effect, because doing that would f garbage collection. So what happens when you use object pooling? The game object gets disabled after use, which means it won't be visible anymore, and once you need to use it again, you teleport it to the point where you need it and enable it again. And the teleporting probably caused the thing where the trail renderer looked like it would come from all kind of directions. Even though I used a method for the trail renderer which I thought would reset its position when reusing the object, but apparently it doesn't work like that. So I said f the trail renderer and just stretched the tracer effect object, which basically was a small sphere, and gave it a cool looking material. I then added some client-sided raycasting to get the approximate impact position of the shot. For those who don't know, raycasting basically just means sending a ray from one point in one direction and see if it hits anything. If it hits a game object with a collider, you can get information about the game object and the impact point of the ray. This is also known as hit scan and is often used for shooting in many games, but also has many other good use cases, like this one for example, even though it's related to shooting kinda. Raycasting is actually also what the server uses to perform the actual shooting. Now we could of course just wait for the result from the server, instead of using raycast on the client to get the approximate shoot impact point. However, especially with a higher ping, this would feel pretty unresponsive. And since it's tracer effects we are talking about, it could also end up looking really weird, like here for example. This is also one of the reasons we use client prediction for movement for instance. However, I'm not going to talk more about client prediction and stuff like that, since that could cover a whole video, if not more. Now the tracer effects looked good and all, but it seems I messed up the way I was moving the tracer effects. And I got a result which kind of reminded me of Kyle's Force Freeze and Force Awakens. Anyways, after a few changes in the script for the tracer object, I got it working, and being pretty satisfied with the result, I now added them to the human class as well. But there was a little issue with the tracer effect having the wrong rotation on other human players, which looked kinda interesting, and fixing it didn't really make it look better, since the humans have pretty basic animations, and the gun doesn't actually rotate with the human camera, only on the local player, so I ended up disabling tracer effects for remote human players. At least for now, until I maybe make better animations for the humans. So after the tracer effects, I improved the player name thing. I don't really know what I'm supposed to call that. So I gave the text a background. The color of the background will indicate if the player is an enemy or an ally, and I even added an health bar to it. Teammates will be visible through walls with this, enemies won't, and these name things will be visible for a certain distance. Further away, for teammates, they will change to some sort of icon. Enemies won't have anything, but since teammates have, you'll know if they don't have anything, they are enemy, so it's not really required for enemies to have it. However, if you aim directly at a player, regardless how far the player is away, the name thing will appear. Another thing I did was trying to add more weapon types, like another assault rifle with a burst fire mode, a heavy, a sniper, and a shotgun. I then added some UI, which you could open by holding B to select the weapon which you would get the next time you spawn. I also added some sort of scope UI for the sniper and stronger zooming. Now I'm not completely done with these new weapons yet, like for instance the shotgun should have a shotgun tracer effect and not the default tracer effect. The default tracer effect looks kinda confusing on the shotgun, but also things like different sound effects for the different weapons also wouldn't hurt, I think. However, the different guns all work, and after some playtesting I've quickly figured out how ass the shotgun was, and the sniper as well for that matter. But after some balancing, I think they are now at least playable. The shotgun is now actually pretty strong in close range, at least if you don't have as crappy aim as I have. On distance it's still ass, but I guess that's kind of how a shotgun is supposed to be. And the best thing about the sniper is probably that it literally has no bullet spread, while the other weapons have a pretty high amount of spread. Anyways, there's definitely some more playtesting required for further balancing. Another thing I did was adding a ladder climbing system, which is low-key inspired by CSGO, I guess. It's basically just a trigger collider, and once a human player moves into it, he will get pushed upwards. And the best thing about this solution is probably how easy it was to program. Now with the climbing system, I also added fall damage to humans. Yeah, I might have set the values a bit too high. Then I finally added the ability for gas cans to explode and even cause player damage, which is something I always wanted to do but always forgot. And I now finally also added tips to the loading screen, and this here totally isn't a Rickroll link. I now also got Steam Rich Presence working, which means Steam will now display which game mode you're currently playing and with how many players. I also added some new commands to the admin menu, force round start and force round end, which both are obvious I think, and then force sandbox mode, which basically disables the match timer and prevents the round from ending until an admin presses force round restart again. This is especially useful for me when testing stuff. I also replaced the completely unnecessary drop down to change a character class with 2 buttons, one for each class, which just makes it way faster to change a character class. And yes, I know the admin menu looks like shit, but it's just a placeholder and it should be replaced at some point, I guess. And last but not least, I did a bunch of smaller bug fixes, but I still have plenty to go, which the last playtest definitely proved. Luckily, most of these bugs are small and should be relatively easy to fix. They should in fact be fixed when I release this devlog, since my plan is actually to release Drone Wars 2.0 into public beta as soon as this devlog releases, and thereby finally replace the current crappy Drone Wars 1 with it. Now, Drone Wars 2 probably is a little bit early for release, but due to the fact that it is already so much better and works so much more reliable than the old Drone Wars, I'll just go for it. And I'll obviously keep updating the game anyways, so yeah, if you're interested, feel free to check it out. You can get it for free on Steam. And also let me know if you found this video interesting, and if you want to see more videos like this, and maybe how I could do these videos more interesting. Should I explain more? Should I explain less? Just let me know. So yeah, I think this was pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Scheiße, der... Fuck off! Was?
Jetzt verreck mich am Scheiß. Bro. Fuck. Wieso kann ich hier durch die Leiter gehen? Fuck. Now before the video ends, I just want to say I'm not the only person working on the game, even though I'm doing most of the work, but Connor helps with some of the modeling and will probably do more in the future. And technically, Connor is even co-project manager, since we were the two who originally started the whole thing, and Officer Yoda designed the main menu UI, and is probably going to design a better in-game UI as well.